I am a little bit early, but I just thought I'll come on so long. Hi, Jack. How are you? Hi. Going to enjoy this. Let's see what comes through. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this. Very interesting what's happening. And the different perspectives as well about what's happening. That's very interesting. So it depends on which side of the fence or what level of consciousness you're looking at it from. So, very interesting. If you look at it from a lower level, you see it as a negative thing, as a problem, But if you look at it from a higher perception and perspective, then you see what's actually going on and how, because you understand it, you've been through it, you understand how to deal with it, and it's not a negative thing. But yeah, from the conscious mind, it's whoa. Yeah. That's the program. The program is you just go in a loop. You're stuck in a cycle. And you don't get out of it. You just carry on in this. Because that's all that's here is just a program. Wow. Fascinating. Fascinating times. And this science will all be proving all of this shortly too. If they haven't already. I'm sure they've actually already have. But it's just not, publicly known. But there's a lot they will come to see about this. Seeing what's happening as well if they observe, and then they will run tests and they'll see what you're saying they'll be able to verify it here. It's going to be very interesting times. Anyway, I'm waiting for our gentleman to join just now so I can add him, but he'll only be on, I don't know what the time, let me just check the time. Closer to 8. Yeah, it's almost 8, but anyway. I must turn this music off so I can actually hear something. Can you hear me, by the way? Because I still haven't figured out how to work this earphone thing with the speaker. I think I just get a microphone. So I got a pair of these earphones with a microphone for, thanks. Because when you do lives, or when you used to do lives on here, and when you went live with someone, they cut the sound. It's like the quality disappears. So when there's both of you on, the one person's sound is very muted. It's really not... So I got these little iPhone earphone things. Anyway, I couldn't figure out how the thing to work. So I think my daughter ended up with them. I still haven't got them back. Anyway, I haven't got someone to tell me. Yeah. Oh, good. Yes, it's fine by one person. So I'm hoping it'll be good when there's two of us on. And then we can. Hi, David. How are you? Hello. Ant, are you there? Yay! Okay. Yeah, I'm going to see how you... Now I'm going to figure out how you...
Am I on?
Hi, now I'm going to figure out what you're doing down there. How we going to get you on? Share the screen. Let me see. How the hell do I get you on there now? My gosh, what are you doing down there? Hang on a second. All right. Nope. Okay, let me send you another invite. Do you want to just
Wait now, 1 second. I think I've got us on video.
Because I've got you in a teeny, all your R's is teeny little face. I've got you in a little box instead of, you're not like a co-host. There's you're like a teeny blip on the screen. So let me send you another invite. Do you want to just, I don't know how we close this one.
I'll disconnect.
Okay, and then I'll go live again. I'll send you another one. How the hell did that happen? Wow. Let's see. Co-host. All right, that might be a better idea. Okay. Okay, where is it now? Okay. Oh, it's offline. Okay. Got to go live again. I got to get Auntie to go live again because I can't. Okay. Can you, Ant? I need you to go live again so I can invite you as a host. All right. So just go live and then I can send you another invite as a co-host. Sorry, this thing just was really not good. So let me see if you're there now. No. Where is he? And Anthony, can you go live so I can invite you? Let's have a look. Hi, Thomas. How are you? Yeah, thanks. Go live. Yeah, thank you. Because it's not showing you otherwise. Okay, let me see where you are. No, not showing you yet. Not yet. Aha, there he is. Hey. We got it.
I gotta be honest, there's this first time I've gone live and there's just so many options. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I know it's been a while, hey, but it's funny because I don't know how it works. Depending how you invite someone, I think that someone just wants to join and ask a question or something. Because if you go co-host here like this, or guest whatever, then you get a full screen. Otherwise, you appeared and you were like this mic. No one could see you because it was just a voice and it just a little box appears at the bottom. I'm thinking, what's going? That's better. I can see who I'm talking to. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good, but I tell you, this week has been it's been a weird week energy wise.
Oh, really?
It's you know what? You made a video about it the other day, and I watched the video, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So it's like you're really creative, you have all these things you want to do, and then it's like boom, right? As soon as you start to act out the plan, it's like your energy just goes down, and you're like, I just want to stay at home. I don't want to go anywhere, even though
Yeah.
you've all these plans in your head, and so there's that fight then because it's like your head's like, no, we have to do this stuff, but then your body's like, no, just relax.
Yeah, body's not. There's a lot of movement going on with the body and the brain at the moment as well. I noticed today as well. There's energy. There's an adjustment going on with the brain, with the head. So there's a lot of changes going on with the biology. Yeah, because it has to change. Energy is held in the body. Ah, yes. No, it's been fun. People are feeling this shift. Wow. So what I want to discuss with you. It's lovely to see you. It's good to have this, because if people understand how much help it's going to be when you've got both aspects, you know what I mean? But if you're coming from an unconscious, because you won't know you're unconscious, so you just think it's only learned. Whatever you've learned here, read, absorbed, taught, polyparrot, has gone in here. That's all you're able to see. You're not understanding what's going on, like yourself. You don't know why this is happening to you. That's the worst. So you start. It's so many. We'll go into it. But what triggered this whole thing was, first of all, I love looking at the reflections and understanding the collective in the story. If you look at what's happening out mainstream, what's going on the mainstream media, then you can see the reflection of the collective consciousness, of the collective awareness. So of all the characters, how much the awareness and what's clearing in the awareness level, what's been brought up in the awareness, but it's reflected back. But when you're unaware, you just think, oh my gosh, and you throw stones and you're not seeing what it's showing. You know what I mean? The whole collective, this is what is in the collective that needs to be fixed or cleared. It's not just those people. They are just an example. So when I saw, I think it was Satguru, this is what I thought was so amusing. I sent it to you. That's why I want to do this live. I thought, we need to talk about this. And I saw this thing saying that they are expecting by 2030, 1 in every 2 will have a mental health thing. So they're calling it a mental health, pandemic. And that's why I laughed. I just said, yes, because that's from a lower awareness or consciousness. Because all you're doing is looking at the symptoms again. You're not understanding where they're coming from, because we all compartmentalized and no one's working with each other. So no one knows what NASA knows all of these things very clearly. They know how energy affects the body, because when the astronauts went into space, they first discovered this. When they tried their rockets and things, when they left the certain atmosphere or the certain thing, they noticed all of a sudden they had psychic abilities, strange things happened to them. So all of these things they studied. They know they've been studying for a while. But the mainstream and psychology and things, it just, well, some there are some like you. So there are ones that are waking up. But now we've hit that third wave, and we're going to tip the bucket shortly, and then they're just going to hit it. So this is what worried me. If they hit it, at the moment, the third wave are in the rabbit hole. So I don't know, when you've been through this yourself, you can see, understand the levels. You realize you wake up long before. So this is why all the corruption. You start seeing just in the things aren't good. You start seeing what's sort of hidden. Let's say the dirty laundry is coming out, but it's coming out because it's coming out in everyone. It's coming out like it's being reflected by the masses. It's coming out to all the scandals in our governments, but it's a reflection of our society. This is what they're not seeing. It's a reflection of the collective consciousness, the collective behavior, the collective shadow, the collective shit. So when you see this, I mean, you see now, wow, you go through the shit, your life falls apart. It depends how off the track you were. So if you were really like off the track, like this one was, I mean, everything goes down the toilet. The rug was pulled and you lost everything. Everything just went to...
Why me? This isn't fair.
No, past that one. I mean, this one was like top of the charts, really bad. Everything went to shit. And then isolation. And I saw them talking about this 1 in every 2, this loneliness issue, because this is what the one is doing. It's pulling them back to go within, to learn not to look outside, to learn to look inside, rely on your self-love. You've been through what we call the dark night of the soul. It pulls you in, it isolates you, because so understanding, what you release, if you're lonely, if you let go of it, it'll go, it'll just vanish. But if I'm lonely, it'll just won't go, it'll just stick there. So it's a real interesting, it's unawakened perception to say it's a problem. You're just diagnosing it's a problem. Oh my gosh, we don't know what's wrong with you. You're having a meltdown. Here's a pull and go away. But because you're not seeing why it's happening and the whole story. So on our side, we're all being prepared, to help them, because it's going to be on such a mass scale to help everybody. And you, having all the skills, first of all, you can't really push it on someone, but you can help them. Even your energy and their presence helps. You know what I mean? You can see what's going on, even if they can't.
It's the calmness. It's. I find with people, a lot of the times we heal people in ways that we don't even realize we do. And the main way you can heal someone is just by sitting in that room in the presence. Because if you're in a room with someone and they're up here and they're really anxious or high in the sense of, they're all over the place, and you're coming in with that steady, calm energy, you're gradually going to bring them down without you actually having to do anything besides being in the room.
Yeah.
So and look, this usually happens to people because I have a counseling background as well. But what normally happens with people, they're worried about, what if I get a client in that's suicidal, or I have a client that's going through psychosis, or it's all over the place. And a lot of the time, all you actually have to do is just be calm in that space. And when you're calm in the space, it brings the other person down.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's just you being there. And counseling actually talks about that. In the literature, it says that 80% of how well you work with your client is dictated by the relationship you have with the client. The other 20% is whether you use CBT or what type of approach you take.
Yeah.
So for me, I remember when I started studying counseling, that was great for me, because I was like, okay, all I have to do is develop a genuine relationship with my clients while being professional, of course. And just by doing that, I'm 80% more likely to help them than if I do. It makes it so much easier. And then it comes back to, all you actually have to do is just be a nice person. And if you're a nice person, most likely people are going to like to be around you, if that makes sense.
And talk, it's trust. It means that they can open up and talk to you. But that's on a KC. But this is what I'm saying. This is the interesting part. They're looking at it as a problem. That's the consciousness. That's the conscious mind. We're looking at it, you have a problem. Now let's give you therapy to fix your problem. So we understand when you claim something like a doctor, you have an illness. If you say, I am, or it's if you claim it as your energy, as your problem, as your illness, as your emotion or your suffering, guess what? You are then, because reality has no, let's put it this way. Reality itself, as I say, has got no definition, no right, no wrong, whatever. It's what, as Bashar says, what you apply to it is what it is. So if you see it, it's going to be good, or it's bad, or I'm sick, or not, whatever you say. This is exactly, you are creating it literally as the source, as the one. So if you're saying if you go, oh, it's my problem, my life, my energy, you are saying I am. You see, you're claiming that is yours. So this is what we didn't realize. You're claiming it that let's say, let's not even use the word. Let's say Joe is depressed. So guess what's going to happen? You are telling the universe, I am that. So whoopee, this is what you will get. Now knowing this, it's like, oh, holy shit. So what we've been doing is claiming we've got the problem. Same with that. Here's exactly an example. When this one, when the shit hit the fan, well, that was long time ago. The shit hit the fan at 212 already. The things start slowly. You don't realize it. So when your life falls apart, the dark night is all, everything just went down the toilet. But it got a bit worse than that. when you just had nowhere to go and you were like brought to your knees, like, you're just so screwed you can't do anything. You have to go on your knees and ask for help, right? So this is what happened here. You were brought to absolute, there's no one that's going to help you. You know what I mean? You're just like, okay, that's it. It's time out. Let's ask for help. But then as well, you were so isolated and so lonely and frightened. That's what I'm saying. Loneliness they're worried about. But when you actually just think, you just give up. You just think, okay, well, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, so what the hell, That's what you just resign the fact. Once you let go and resign the fact, because it's energy. You see, we didn't realize we claimed it. The minute I actually let go of it and just, whatever, I just don't care anymore, and I'd let go of it, guess what? Within 2 weeks, I had a visitor come stay. I wasn't lonely. It was because you let go of it. You see, we just didn't understand. It's the awareness claiming all these things.
But it's like you to me before, if there's something going on and you haven't learned the lesson, you can't let go. And I remember you had said that to me at the time. And when you were saying it to me, I was like, what do you mean if I haven't learned the lesson, I can't let go? And at the time, I couldn't understand it. But afterwards, I was like,
you didn't see it.
I couldn't see it. And to be fair, you were very kind with me through it all. But I was like, I just couldn't see it. But then afterwards, I was like, okay, I learned a lesson. I need to have whatever in myself, whether it's more self-confidence, more boundaries, whatever it is. Once I learned, that's what I need to do, all of a sudden I was able to let go. And then the situation resolved itself fairly quick.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, when you hold on to it, I want this thing in my life, I can't let it go. And then all of a sudden you're creating this energy around it to make it go.
Yeah. Because whatever we resist or claim, you see, we're fighting we don't let it flow. So what we resist or what we claim, what we don't realize as nothingness, as source, if we just leave things, it won't affect, it'll just move through. Like they say, if you watch the energy just pop up, right? You watch, say, emotion. Let's just say grief or sadness, right? Grief or sadness arises in the body. So the person in a consciousness of the body consciousness believes they are the body and this is my body. So then, of course, they're going to claim it as theirs. Because when they're feeling it, they think they're feeling it in the body, which is not, we're not even going to go into that part. So they're going to say, oh, God, why am I feeling, this is the first thing. What comes to the mind? Why is it feeling? You see, the brain will say, why is it feeling sad? So immediately, what you've done now is claim that energy. That if you had just sat there and watched that energy arise, say hello. Oh, you see sadness arises. I see sadness. Let it feel it. And just let it move. Don't claim it. Just allow it. Just, sit there with it. Let it move. But these things we're learning. And then it'll just disappear. Literally, like just vanishes. It just subsides again. Like anything arises. But when we say it's mine, it's a different story. Because now you're saying it is my pain or my sadness. You have not claimed that. That's the problem. So you have the consequences, you see. Or it's like pushing something away. You're saying you don't want. I saw that. There's so much you learn, eh?
I have a story about me trying to put something on someone by accident. So I work with kids with special needs, but one of them he's verbal. He's able to talk, and he's pre-teens. But anyway, we're going for a walk, and he wouldn't put on his hoodie. And I went to turn around to him and say, "You have to put on your hoodie. You have asthma." And as I said the words in my head, I was like, "Oh no! If I'm telling him he has asthma, I'm putting it on him." And I said nothing else. I said, "Oh no, I don't mind what I'm saying." And then later on, the kid came back to me and he said, "Anthony, remember you were saying I had that thing that," because he couldn't remember the word. He was like, "I don't have that. I'm fine." And in that, I was like, "Oh yeah, don't mind what I was saying earlier." But in the moment, as I was saying it, I realized I'm giving him this. If I'm giving him that label and reinforcing that label in his mind psychologically, then he's going to grow up thinking, "Oh, I have asthma. I have asthma."
Yeah.
And so I can't go run. I have asthma.
The body hears it. the energy, because it's only energy cells, and it'll, okay, so now this is what you're saying and this is what you'll get. I know, oh boy. Yeah,
It's
but
so,
this is lessons you gotta learn.
but it's so easy for us as well as adults to throw labels onto other people very easily when maybe we shouldn't be doing that, you know? It's like there's this idea they talk about in shamanism, and the idea is that the schizophrenic is basically a person who lives between different worlds, between the spiritual world and the physical world. But the difference between the
The door
schizophrenic,
didn't quite close, put it that way. There's a leak in between so-called other lives, other stories going on. That's why.
but
Yeah, there's a leak. Yeah.
the difference between the shamanic practitioner and the schizophrenic is the shamanic practitioner is able to swim in that world. They know how to keep themselves above water, whereas the schizophrenic doesn't have the tools or the support systems around them to get them to swim. You know, so
Well, look, they don't understand what's going on, and someone just tells them you're crazy and medicates them to health and shoves them in a home. This is the problem. You see, the problem is the lower consciousness always saw everything from a negative perspective because it was a lower consciousness density. So there's a problem. Oh, you're sick. We got to do that. We got to remove that. We got to shock you. We got to do something to you. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's a reflection of what's here. This is their awareness. I mean, you know, so if they see everything as illness, well, of course this is what they're projecting. So the poor bugger doesn't have a clue what's going on, you know, even autism, everything. I mean, when I've sat here online and listened to autistic people, I have learned so much. It was like, wow. Couldn't believe you saw them in such a different light, not what you've been told. Someone stands up there, this is an autistic person. You see, it's all one label slapped on everyone. It's like one thing and you're all the same, which is absolutely not the case.
well, it's like the thing over here. So in Ireland, I remember reading stats before, and it was like I think it was 3 out of every 10 women will be on antidepressants at some stage in their lives. And it's like if 3 out of 10 women have to be on antidepressants, there's something wrong with society because that's a lot. And women are more likely to go to the doctor than men, and you know they're probably par on par with their mental health. So it's like wow, do you know? But what I found with last year, to me, what seems to be happening is last year was a year because there was lots of ups and downs. It was forcing people, like you had said earlier, to sit with their own feelings, to work on their own triggers, especially around Christmas. Because what I've noticed with Christmas is with Christmas, family comes together. All that early childhood stuff, trauma, whatever that you experience, it's re-brought back up. But the good thing about it is when you're in that situation, you get to see, right, how much have I learned from this year to last year? How much have I healed? How much have I not healed? But it seemed anyway, last year was just about going up and down, up and down. So we could clear out as much as we can. And if you've cleared out a lot last year, if you did a lot of the work, this year we're just going to sail. Doesn't mean you're not going to have ups and downs this year as well. But to me, that's what it seemed. Last year was really a year of the people that are supposed to hold space, whatever title you want to give yourself, whether it's counselor, healer, whatever, space holders. What I found is last year, a lot of space holders worked on a lot of stuff. So we're ready for this year when people really need us, that we're used to holding space, and it's a lot easier. Like for me, like when I'm teaching meditation class, I could have 12 plus people there in the room, and it's so easy for me now just to sit in that space because I've built up my ability to do it over the years. But when I started, the idea of even sitting with one person listening to their stuff is like, oh my God. So you build up your tolerance over the years. But I always and counseling talks about this as well. You will always get the right client for you, because if the client isn't right for you, they won't gel with you, and it just won't work out. So always know that if you have friends or family or people around you that are coming to talk to you about their stuff, one, they're coming to you for a reason, and two, they've most likely been sent to you because you're the best person to listen to their stuff. The only catch what I find with healers is when they start is they don't have any boundaries. They want to heal everybody, but they don't put clear boundaries in place. So what happens is they want to give all their energy away and keep none for themselves.
Sorry, Auntie, I was just trying to read someone's comment here. Say, if I'm not learning, and lessons stop coming in, what's happening if I'm not learning? They don't stop, they come on. They might give you a break, but they'll come back. That lesson will repeat itself for sure if you don't learn. But if you're awake, you can ask for help. This is why we're having this chat, because the difference between if you go for, let's say, conscious, if you go to the unconscious side, which is the therapist or something that's not awake, right? That is not connected. So they are just, all they're going to do is treat you with whatever programs they've been programmed with. This is how you're going to do it, and this is what's wrong, and this is what you tell them, and this is what you give them, and this is what pill to subscribe, and that's it. That's the unconscious version. And the poor person goes home and doesn't have a clue what's going, that's it. It's just going to, well, let's hope it's going to come from somewhere. Someone's going to tell me what's wrong with me or whatever. It doesn't get solved, right? It's just treating the symptoms. But if you're doing it on a conscious level, a conscious person understands why this is happening, what's happening to you, can look or see or tap in to find out what it is. But the main thing is they don't even need that. If they wake up, this is the main thing. When they wake up to what they are, right? So first of all, we're going to have all these people now going through this mental, they're going to get pulled aside. They start, like now, they're having their meltdown. What's wrong with me? I'm freaking out. I'm upset, or this is coming up, or can't understand why I'm getting upset with my mom, or I'm depressed. Whatever shit they haven't dealt with in the entire body's lifetime, because it's in the body. So whatever stuff is coming up, and this is why they're calling it, they're expecting a mental health pandemic, because this wave are running off to the doctor already, the third wave. Oh, what's wrong with me? I'm depressed, I'm irritable, I can't understand why I'm angry, or I'm so tired, or whatever, the ringing in the ears, all these symptoms that you've been through, you understand exactly what's happening. But if you go to a mainstream doctor or mainstream thing, oh, we don't know, can't find anything wrong with you. There we are, it's probably depression or life or this or that, your husband or whatever they just will attribute it to the cause. That's what I say. It's a level of cause and effect. Oh, your husband, you're fighting with him, so whatever. You don't understand the deeper thing of it.
And you see, it's a catch. Like, even if a doctor wants to sit down and give you the time, they're strapped for time, so they have to just treat you with the way they've been treated. So you might get lucky and they might refer you to a counselor, or they're going to say, "Well, I know if I give them this medication, most likely it's going to help." So to be fair to them, they're trying their best as well, but they're caught in their own system, and they can only do so much.
The system. You see, it's a program. Everything's a program. It's a system. You're not out the box. This is how you're told. This is how many minutes you've got, and that's it. That's what I'm saying. It's why it's failed everybody. It hasn't got anywhere. And the person still doesn't have a clue what's bloody wrong with them. You know what I mean? You're still going around. Look at this one. I mean, speak from thing. I mean, just the lessons kept repeating in this life because you weren't awake, and you weren't ever. And you eventually get to the point where it's going to snap the camel's back, because like, well, why does this keep happening? And you haven't a freaking clue. From a conscious mind level, because this is only a program, only what it's learned, so it cannot give you the answers, literally. So until that energy is activated, you are not going to get the answer. You have to, like this one, be brought to your knees and ask for help, like they say, the Buddhists, sit quietly and bloody wait. You've just given up. And that the self will introduce itself. And once that is, now you've got direct communication, and that's it. And you will be guided, and you will be shown, and you will be loved, and it will actually help you. This is the difference about the awakening. If you wake up, you are taken up, you are helped up, you are guided. From then, life stops. But if you sit and don't, I'm going to do it, I know better, they'll listen to the parrot. Well, you can go for therapy till the cows come home, like this one. I remember phoning the guy. I went for therapy, and anyway, of course, the lesson repeated again, and you're like, oh my God. I remember sitting on the phone to him or Skyping him. I was like, why do I keep doing this? What is it? You think it was you couldn't understand why you kept choosing this circumstances, whatever, not you. You can see it through the show. You cannot, and they don't actually tell you either. They're not there to they're not a coach to tell you what to do and how to live your life. So it's a complete waste of time. I found absolute waste of time.
You know what I find, and that's actually an interesting one that you've said that. So I find, I have counseling background and I do healing work, so I can talk about it from kind of both sides.
Yeah.
But what I find is when someone comes in for healing, I always do a couple of minutes counseling to start, because sometimes I find you need to put words to the thing you're about to release energetically from your body. But what I find is for one healing session, if I was doing a counseling session with you, it'd take 3 or 4 sessions. As bad as that sounds, it's like you said there, you can only talk so much. You can only talk so much before you're not actually going to release any more by talking. So that's why I find. But then, having said that, even though I find healing is more efficient than the counselling, some people will never come for a healing session because it doesn't fit in with their logical way of thinking. They'll
Yeah,
only go to counselling because they healing to them just doesn't make any sense. That's fair enough. That's just where they're at.
yeah,
I definitely find energy work, healing work, definitely works
yeah.
quicker.
Far better, far more effective. But that's what I'm saying. Unless they wake up, that's why you try and tell people. The ones that are going through this are going to be told they don't know what's wrong with them. There's something wrong with them, and they're going. We There's enough people online now helping. Hopefully, they will come across a video and someone saying to them, "Nothing's wrong with you. It's okay. We can." And then they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you see." When they hear this is a sharing thing, everybody else out there talking about their dark night of the soul, about this, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, now I know what's wrong with me." Wow. I didn't understand why I was feeling that. I was having ringing in the ears. I thought I was going to the doctor. I thought there's something wrong with me. You see, by hearing, by others sharing out there, when they're hearing what other people are doing and it's normal, then you see, you go to the doctor and think, oh my gosh, I'm the one that has a pain. You see, it's only me, not like the whole bloody world's going through the same shit. Yeah.
I
The,
seen a video the other day on TikTok. I was quite interested. So basically, this woman was saying she's been doing holistic healing stuff on herself to better herself. But she said all the stuff she was doing was breath work, ice baths. Do you know all the stuff that the fellas really get drawn to? And she was like, I realized that I'm healing myself the way a fella heals himself, not a woman. So then the whole thing on the video was, I'm not going to do these masculine healing methods anymore. I'm going to start doing stuff more feminine healing. But what I found interesting was one is the fact she didn't realize there's your masculine energy and your feminine energy, and they both need different things. But at the same time, it was beautiful because as she was learning this and creating this video, loads of other people were responding saying that they were in the same place. So now what she's done is she's informed people, this is why I did, it didn't work. This is more masculine stuff. I'm going to start doing this feminine stuff. But there was a whole group of people that were learning through her video, which is fantastic.
you see, and
But it's amazing that some people don't realize there's the masculine and the feminine energy all within you, and you have to hit it in different ways to work on it in different ways.
so you can't take a horse. Look, there's let's hope the ones that eventually, if they go when they first wake up, they're going to, as you say, go through all the shit comes out and their life falls apart because it's trying to get it out. It just wants to be seen, just wants to be released. So all that energy is going to come up. Of course, they're going to go to the doctor or shrink. Oh, something's wrong with me. Wah. Wanting to find out, why is this coming up all of a sudden out of the blue? Because I've done such a good job of suppressing. I had no clue it was even there. This stuff comes out years and years later, and you're thinking, you didn't even remember. It was like completely forgotten. Like, oh, where did that come from? But
Yeah.
this really, this, not make you just say we can't really intervene. You can't do anything yet until they actually wake up. When they hit the non-physical awareness, then things gonna get. This is what worries. Yeah, this is what was worrying me. If they hit the if they haven't cleared, say you have a lot of trauma, a lot of shit, as this one did, huge distortions. I mean, lots of stuff, because it was, who knows, it was, the consciousness was asleep for a long time, many dreams, it was dreaming away happily, believing it's all these bodies and stuff. So when it woke up, as I say, wow, it wasn't funny. So there was a lot of shit in there. Wow, huge amount of energy stuck in the body. I mean, it was in a good way. So when you wake up with that amount of density, what you've learned now and understanding to read these things, they're not past lives. It's everything's consciousness. There's only nothingness. So it's a story. So in order to tell you, it gives you pictures so you can relate, because there's such thing as time. So it's going to show you, like I did one other day, and someone's going, it goes into, it loves shit. So it'll go into detail. No, it's a midwife down here, we're going down here, and there's, there's a whole story about a life. But it's just trying to get a message to you. It's fun. It's just trying to show you, okay, this is where the problem is. They've got a fear of hunger or running out of food. It just comes down to a simple message. But you're going to go down this story, that story, because it's a story. This is an illusion. So it picks stories which you assume are past lives. It really doesn't matter. But it's going to show you, this happened here, so this is where the problem lies here, and it's that and that and that. But if you wake up like this and you have an immense amount of trauma, shadow, nervous system, all kinds of crap going on, then they go off to the mainstream. If they go off, I've heard one or two, they go off to the mainstream and they're going to get labeled insane or locked up or schizophrenic, psychotic, or whatever, and going to give medicine. That's scary, because literally, I mean, you start seeing things you shouldn't do, and you go to someone that's not awake. They're honestly going to say you crazy. They're not going to believe you.
I have an interesting one for that. I remember I was doing my undergrad and
Yeah.
I had a very good psychologist at the time, lecturer, and it came up about people hearing voices. It was just part of the lecture. It was one of the things coming up. And she talked about, people hearing demons or seeing stuff or whatever, or things like that. And, she was saying about what might happen to them, to go to the doctor in the process and and psychologically she was talking about, what could lead to that. But someone turned around to her and said, but what about if instead of seeing demons, the person is hearing or seeing angels? And it was interesting because everybody in the class stopped and just listened to see what she said. And she said, well, seeing them things would be a positive thing. So it's unlikely that it's going to, she defined it as it wasn't going to be there's a certain word she used, but basically it wasn't going to be a detriment to the person's life. So if the person's value, if their life outcomes are positive, it will never come across the radar of the doctor or psychiatrist or anything like that because their life is doing well. But what happens is when people are seeing horrific stuff, it's diminishing their life outcomes. So that's why they end up going to the doctor. So her whole point basically, that person will be fine and no one will ever say anything because it's positive stuff they're seeing, which is probably enhancing their life.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting though, depending on what you see, they could dictate where you end up down the road.
That's what I'm saying. It's all imagined. It's all bullshit because it's thumbs up, literally. Think about it. Even if you look at not being funny, but look at how your labels come up for your DSM manuals. Look at how they're created. Let's all sit around and we look at this. Okay, now we think, are we just going to label it? This is what this illusion's about. Label. It's a tree. What the fuck? It's just a shape. But we label it as something funny, but we just stick a name on it. It's a tree. It's a this. And if you listen to the Buddhists, they'll tell you there's nothing. It's just, and that's exactly what it is. It's concepts. The whole illusion. If you listen to the higher level, there's nothing there, right? There isn't. There's no one, no thing. There's the forms. There's only what appearing. It just appears. That's why I say if you don't claim it, it just disappears again. Anything, it arises. If you just watch it, it comes up and goes. And as long as you don't claim it, if you're going around, this is where your unexpected consequences come when you believe you're a separate person. But what came here was it, and it's actually interesting to see. And they all start seeing it now instead of labeling people loopy, like especially woo woo, big a lot of that woo 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 whatever. But you will start seeing woo is going to be scientific because what was shown, and it's clear evident. There's a couple of videos. I think I sent you one. Because a good one for addiction problems, serious addicts, and real problems. As I say, it can be really bumpy when you wake up with those kind of issues. So, Paul Hederman was a serious addict and went on, the 12-step program, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, ended up with non-duality and ended up, exactly dropping the persona. So anyone can do it. It's quite proof. And he's probably one of the best, most direct teachers, or not pointers, not teachers, pointer. He's very, very good at seeing this. But what is evident, even he realized it, when he said he went to these AA things and he started, because you always think it's my life, I've never, it's never been as bad, blah, 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 blah. Your life is, when it sucks, it's horrendous and no one can understand, whatever. So he goes to these meetings and of course there's everybody else in the same pool there. And he said after 3 months of listening to everybody's stories, in this AA story or whatever, he said only can come to 2 conclusions. How did everyone get my thoughts? Because the stories are all the same. You're like, wow. Or they're not my thoughts. Aha, bingo. And this is what I was pointing out the other day as well. And science will prove it. They'll get there. Everything's frequency and energy. They know is only energy, the string in quantum entanglement, whatever you want to say, right? But what is interesting is that was shown there. Everything's only frequencies. Look at what's happening now. See the different timelines? So there's all people banding together again with certain, because what was made clear here, that thoughts have frequencies, you see. So look at the addicts, and that's what he put in. All these addicts had the same thoughts, the same ideas. So there's an addiction type, there's certain stories. All these thoughts band together. They seem to be collected under addicts, and they had certain frequencies because they all seem to be behaving the same, saying the same thing, thinking the same thing, which is there. It just is. Light workers. Look, That's what I'm saying. People think there's a separate anything here. There's no separate anything because it's all Siri. You go onto Google and Siri, it's the same thing, that one, or Alexa. This is what it is. There's only one here. It's the illusion is to believe that you're a separate person, because just go listen to light workers. Have a look at it. How many of them are getting the same thoughts, the same downloads, a light language? You see, it's the same thing. So you've got all these frequencies. They're all doing the same thing. Light language, all getting the same downloads, same guidance. Look, everybody's guided now to get ready to do this on a big scale. So you think, now that's interesting. You see, obvious, if you think you're so individual, how come everybody is doing the same thing, getting the same information, getting the same guidance, getting the same behavior? So all of these, if you watch it, you'll see it's frequencies. You'll band them together. So you've got this group here, watch the same things. They're all banding of this. So stories are created. The stories are created by thoughts and concepts. It's the whole illusion is. So it's very interesting to see then the different frequencies, because all these thoughts will all be on that sort of frequency. So they're all together and they're creating the story, and positive stories, negative stories, but whatever. Same with the timeline. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
I tell you something that kind of links into what you're saying, right? So with the people, we use the term healers. So people that are in the kind of healer group. I remember I was doing shamanic training, and there was a group of like, oh God, there was like 60 of us. Now there was a lot of facilitators, so the space was held well. You might think 60 is a lot, but they had enough facilitators to hold the space. But I remember I was there, and I was kind of, my self-confidence stuff came up, and it's like, Jesus, like there's so many different healers here, and everybody has a different ability, and they're all on different paths. Like, am I really needed? And that talk kind of came up. But that kind of linked in with, I had done a bit of training before. It was suicide training. So it was basically helping you to talk to, if someone's suicidal, how to just talk to them. And you'd be surprised how simple it is, but we make it complicated. But there was a lady there, and she's from ethnically, she's from a minority group. And what she basically said was, people in my community won't let the typical person into their community. So her whole thing was, I need to train up in this so at least I can bring it to my community. And what I learned from that was, Source needs lots of people all over the place, because there's no point in having one person that's just amazing, because one person can't help everybody. So it's like he or she has dotted loads of us around, and then it comes back to, we're all important because we're all needed. So anytime you're there, and Bashar actually talks about this as well, it's like, if you weren't needed and you weren't important, you wouldn't exist. And so then I linked that in.
You manifested this form. This is your prediction. Your desires is what they tell you. Whatever you think about and desire and want, that's what I say. Because you were saying, you see, if you just shut up and claim anything, it will all, you go back into the ocean. You become one again. But if you want to carry on playing the action figure, and you're saying, it's my life, I want to manifest this and that and that and that, this is what keeps the thing manifesting. So you keep manifesting new forms, because it won't stop until your desires are, because it's a desire machine. It's a manifestation machine. It's about desires, because it wants to dream. So okay, now, so it manifests this little action figure, boom, and it wants to create. And so just really, if you see what you are, you're just watching this show. It's a play. So as long as the action figure wants to keep creating shit, or making it, whatever it's imagining, because it's thoughts, it's imagining a world. It like you say, look at manifestations. You've got to visualize it all. It's all it is. So it's manifested. It's projected. It makes a manifestation, but it's not what you think. When you're in the illusion, you see a form. Like I see Anthony, it's a separate face, a different thing. That's the thing, because the brain has got this little image and believes it. But because you believe you are, the minute that falls away, there's actually just an empty energetic form. But it's empty, completely empty. There's nothing in it. It really is holographic. It's see-through form, which is here. And what's in front of it is what you're seeing as illusion. If you pull back, about there is the projected little face and picture. But it's like, I can't even explain it.
I can give an example. I think, that can kind of explain what you're talking about. If you've ever dated somebody, and then all of a sudden you've had a falling out or whatever, and when you look at them again, what I find is, when you go from you're dating them and you love them to maybe stuff happened and you don't like them anymore, you look at them and you're like, Jesus, they looked way better before. Why don't they look? I know it's not the same, but it's kind of comparable in the sense it's like once the veil drops, everything changes. I'm like, geez, I thought they were much more attractive. What's going on?
See, because the desire has gone away. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
This thing is empty. It's an empty shell, and that's what it is. It's a manifestation. It's source playing whatever it wants to do. Well, let's try an ice cream, whatever, everything. It just loves whatever. So this little action figure will just be put you, bonk, and whatever it just comes to it, it just lets the thing naturally go. So whether it goes on a negative thought path, as you say, frequencies, it's going to create that. And okay, well, we're going to watch that, you know. If it wants to, say if it wants to play, if you want to claim the figure, there we are. You are the action figure, and off you go. And it just watches, but you know, you can't do it nicely. You can play along, you know what I mean? So it is bloody funny there because literally it does that. So whatever you want to manifest, create, literally that's it. That's what it's doing, and literally. And this is why you keep so-called experiencing, because it's funny there because literally it does that. So whatever you want to manifest, create, literally that's it. That's what it's doing, and literally. And this is why you keep so-called experiencing, because your body dies before you manage to get your $1 million house or whatever nonsense because you didn't match a frequency or something. Well, guess what? That hasn't disappeared. So you've put all this shit into the field, all these stories out there. So the minute you, and especially if you identify the consciousness is identified with the form. So when the body dies away, what's the consciousness going to do? Oh, I need another body because it believes it was the body, right? So it's going to project. Poof! Next minute, I'm Susan. Ooh, and you know. And I'm born again, and I've got,
We're back
and
all
here
over.
we go again. The whole
Yeah.
exactly. And guess what? All that shit. This is why they always said, do not leave what comes, let what goes. Because if you don't want to keep the hamster wheel going, you know what I mean? You're not going to project anything out there again. So that it'll be like, so you can remain as source, so you won't get lost in the dream.
I often just think of life as like a game because it's our yeah, because typically what happens in a video game is there's a set scenario and you're just dropped into the body of the character you're playing. And then you're put through loads of different stages throughout the game and you just have to work with what you got. And I find with life it's the same. You're dropped into this body, you're dropped into the parents that you have. There's certain scenarios you're gonna have to go through and experience in your life, and all you can really do is just work around it and work with it. That's what I've found anyway. It's the easiest way for me to kind of comprehend it at the minute anyway.
Yeah, because you are not. You see that because there's a. That's what I say. When you believe there's a separate one, and it's these things will all become evident. They're going to become obvious soon. But when you believe there's a separate person, a separate identity, like there is an actual person in the body, like just because the body's got a name, but you still think, you think the awareness and consciousness is coming from the body. People think they are the body. The body's got a name, so the body's alive. You know, this is what I'm saying. So of course you always think the thoughts are coming from you. Everything. So this is what actually happens. The minute you stop doing it and pull back, then you'll actually be able to see them. They're not. But when you're focusing, what you're doing as awareness, so you are focusing everything here. So the energy stays here. So you're not pulling back to see, oh wow, okay, this is not what I thought it was. So it's amazing. They'll discover all of these things, these frequencies, as I say.
Mindfulness talks about that. Mindfulness says the thoughts are like clouds, and the clouds come over your head, and it's like you have a choice whether to look up that cloud and pull it into your body. So that's the thought comes in, and you're like, oh my God, that's so true, da da da. Or you can be like, oh, okay, I'm thinking that, but I'm not gonna pull it into my body and
You're
absorb it.
not thinking it. You see, that's the thing. This is where the realize isn't. It's a field full of all those thoughts are, and I've watched it. And as I'm saying, if when they start paying attention, science now, because they're listening, they'll watch all us woo-woo people, and they're going to start thinking anyway. So someone might get interested in seeing enough of it and think, oh, let's look into this, or they will start looking into it, investigating it. Then they'll start really discovering things, because as I say, watch its frequencies and vibrations. Because if you pay enough attention, and you watch your thoughts, not yours, but the thoughts that come, right? Watch those, and say one pops up because yesterday you thought about it, and it's like a bit off there. The minute, as I say, you give that thing attention, you think you're choosing as yours, so you've picked it now from the little field out there. Oh, okay, that's mine, whatever. Or you give it attention, or you give it energy, and now because this, as I say, it's a manifestation machine. It'll give you whatever you want. So now you like that. So watch more thoughts. It builds up of those. Another one comes, and another one comes, and before you realize that your mind is gone like what, all you're doing is seeing you're actually seeing them. That's what I'm saying. You think it's yours. But all these thoughts are more and more and more and more of that frequency are coming up. And it just starts to get bigger and busier.
But that's what mindfulness talks about. It talks about how thoughts are not your thoughts, and mindfulness is fairly mainstream as well at this stage. But it's nice that it talks about that. It's like don't take the thoughts in. Mindfulness talks about creating space in yourself so that, like what you kind of said, that you know the messages, the true messages, can come in by creating
Yeah.
that space.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. They're going to see it. It does worry me though, because I say you do worry about a lot of people, especially if we got huge amount that wake up. Again, now they're waking up to, they're not seeing it. So that's what I'm saying. You're seeing now the lowest level, like I'm watching them, and they're starting to wake up and they're starting to see what's going on out there, because it's, you know, that's frequency they're at anyway, because all that rubbish they're holding. So, oh my gosh, the world is this. So can you imagine now, all you're doing is focusing on that, and you look out there, and this is why I say you have a lot of people, not people, but bodies exiting, leaving them, because they just can't deal with it. The same thing, because everything's falling apart. The collective shadow is being pushed up. And if you don't understand why and what, you see it, as I say, from the conscious mind, you see it as negative. The world's going to shit, everything's wrong, blah, 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 blah. And of course, then this is what you get. And so you will obviously, you're going to think, because you're saying it, you see, you're going to think like that. So then this is why we have it. They'll have a mental health crisis no, you know, absolutely. But if they get past that stage, that's, you know, that's the thing. But it has to be thought as well, you see. I don't know.
What I find interesting is when people really wake up and start noticing stuff around them, it tends to, not all the time, but it tends to go very fear based. Whereas, like now, I'll listen to, you know, stuff that I hear globally, but again, I worry about I'm safe in myself, my energy's good, I'm going to stay focusing on me because that's all I can do. I don't need to worry about what's going on the other side of the world. I'll pay attention to it, but I don't need to absorb it. But what I find is when people wake up, it's like it's all fear. It's like, oh my God, this is happening, and what do I need to do, and how can I? And it's all just fear driven. It's not.
As we said, that's what happens, because all their shit hasn't been cleared. So if you look at everyone that wakes up, and if you go, if they have a problem, or if you just, you know, do any healing for them or tap in, you'll see all the first thing you go to is always is the root chakra, is the base. Everything's down here, and it's fear of life, survival. So it all those, it's every program. There's not a one on the planet that hasn't got that program. They've all been programmed, and it was a negative bias. Everything was negative. Just watch your negative perceptions, very much. And we kept repeating it. We had such a negative programming. Everything was a negative aspect, negative expectations, negative, negative, negative. So that's it. So you're looking at the conscious mind, your program is going to kick in. You've got all your shit. And wow, and is it, as I say. So you're resonating with the fear because you have got fear. You're full of it.
I watched this film recently. Now I probably shouldn't have, because it wasn't a great film. But it's called Leave the World Behind. I just wanted to see what programming they were throwing at us. What were they trying to psychologically prepare us? And like, there's lots of things to notice in the film, but one thing I noticed is the whole way through the film, because it was a world-ending type of film, they were trying to be scared of your neighbor. Be scared of your neighbor. We don't have any information. Be scared of your neighbor. Be scared of your neighbor.
Yeah, it's projection.
But what I found really interesting about it, I didn't feel the fear of the neighbor in the film. Now, if I had watched it 10 years ago, I'd have been like, oh my God, your neighbor's going to kill you. But when I was watching it, I was actually thinking, no, get chatting to your neighbor. Become buddy with people so you all can support each other. But that's what I was thinking in the film, watching it now with my mindset now. But years ago, my mindset was different, and I would have fallen for that fear.
Yeah. But look at this, and I'm saying, look at it's everything's a reflection of the actual awareness. Because look at the films out there. I mean, that's just hell of a, it just shows you. So, I mean, you've been perpetuating war forever. So look at the reflection. There's just war, 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 and you've been selling it. So, yeah, the amount of shit that's in the collective awareness is going to be cleaned out is horrendous. So all have to empty their bucket when they wake up. And hopefully some will, you know, find a wakened person, or exactly, will come across it, whatever, you know, they get that guidance, and it'll be released and cleared, and they start this, like we said, it's easy process of releasing, clearing, and healing. Otherwise, you're going to, you know, hit a brick wall.
What I find is when what's the phrase, when the student is ready, a master will appear. And I remember there was, interestingly enough, actually, there was a time where I was kind of like, I threw out to the universe that I wanted another mentor to appear, right? I don't think I've told you this, but funny enough, then you appeared in my life because I started seeing your videos, I added you, we got chatting. But it was funny because I thrown out to the universe, was like, I want to start learning more about what's past the physical body and what's you know, if I want to start connecting to stuff outside maybe the physical realm, I asked for a mentor to do that, and then you came along. And I always find when you're ready to evolve yourself and you just throw it out to the universe, please help send me the people around me to help guide me. All of a sudden, then people will come in. But what I would say is, for someone that's really confused and doesn't know what to do, well, first of all, it's always good to like go to meditation classes and stuff like that because you're learning tools there. But what I would say in your normal life, something to do is look for the things that trigger you. Because if you start looking at, oh, why the hell is that person annoying me? They haven't done anything to me, but just something about them is really annoying me. If you sit with that feeling, that's how you start working on your own stuff, because you're starting to see what is it about them that I'm projecting onto them that actually has to do with me. And if you start there, after a while, all of a sudden you'll find there's loads of stuff to work on. But at least now what is direction.
This is what I'm saying, and you keep seeing it. You see, you know where I noticed it? The ones that are not progressing are the ones that are not haven't activated that energy. They're not working with source. They have listening and they meditate, but as I say, they're doing on this level. Everything's on the conscious level. They haven't activated that. They haven't got connected with source. So they are. You can see they're just getting nowhere, and they keep getting angry and throwing stones out there at the reflection, expecting it to change. Always watch them. Everyone's angry about them. They did this, and instead of understanding what the collective, what's surfacing now, is fascinating because it's a reflection. You know, which was the biggest laugh the other day. You know, the so-called political two-party story, right? Which is so dysfunctional. It's not even funny. So we've got these two parties. Just pay attention to it, our political system, and you've got them, especially here. I mean, it's so dysfunctional. Wow. So you've got them standing there and slandering each other. All they do is sit there and insult. I mean, dress up. I mean, it's like going to a circus. It really is. It's a circus. You've got sometimes even dressing up in wigs and standing there and throwing insults and telling them. I mean, you look at this and you think this isn't Dark Ages. I don't know what is. But then you know what the reflection is. It only came, and I was like, oh, holy shit! Guess what? This is our government, right? These people, this is what I'm saying, they represent what governs us, right? Controls, like overseas takes care, it's a government, right? So, yeah, that's it. But look what it represents. Two, the one is forever. So this one makes a few steps forward and that one tries to, ruin it out and go this way. So it's like a dance. So they're forever at conflict with each other. None of them are working together to move forward. This is exactly what represented the conscious mind, or you want to say the ego, the program, and source. There was a constant clash, and this is so true. I'm like, oh, holy shit. Guess what's happening now? As they're waking up, they're starting to work. Well, some of them still believe with their self, but I mean, it's part of their awakening. So they're starting to work in harmony with the actual self that manifested the form. So the higher self, whatever. So there's that thing. But this is what it was. It was in your face all the time. It was so dysfunctional. And I laughed. I think, okay, government, guess what? Same thing, the mind. This is what's been going on. There's been a constant conflict between the program, the parrot, the conscious mind, and the one who manifested, who's trying to, get them to go down this path. And no, we're listening to the program and, we hit the brick wall.
What I tend to find really interesting is when you learn a lesson, let's just say your father wasn't able to hug you growing up. So because of that, there's a thing there where you want your father to love you. And as you start to heal that, you'll need that love less from your father. But what I find interesting then is eventually what will happen is if you have siblings, one of your siblings will go through the same thing you went through, but this time you get to sit back and observe them going through that thing of, I want my father to hug me, but he won't. And I always find it interesting when you experience it and then eventually you end up on the other end as the observer. Because I find when you're at the point that you're observing it, it means you've learned enough of the lesson that you're actually able to see it externally from you, but really understand, God, that was me. But if you haven't healed it, you're never going to get to that third person point of view. But I always find that as a lovely kind of like accomplishment piece, because the fact that you're able to sit back and observe it in somebody else means you've done a lot of that on yourself, which is nice.
What are you seeing out there? Just wise. I mean, if you are like in your field, what are you seeing? How much? If I observe now, as I see, you'll see depression because most of them, because people are having exactly whatever they've hurt. Most people have got some kind of shit baggage. So this is coming up. So they're upset, they're depressed. Life is not, they're not too happy at the moment because they're at that stage of awakening. And then they're exactly looking at the world and, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Exactly. The program's in there because this is what's in. So it's the same shit that's going to come out. So you're only going to see the world, what's ever been, especially if you're watching, all the news. And that's what I'm saying. It's so easy if you watch where it's coming from, and you understand it's a reflection of the consciousness. And no matter who's talking, you see exactly their view is being spewed out there. How they see the world is what's in here. So everything that's all these programs and distortions, or views and beliefs and everything, every belief, every definition, everything is there, and that is being reflected. And you just, by listening to me, like, oh wow, wow.
What I think is going to happen, and this is just a reflection of the people that are on the same frequency that I'm on. I think between January and February, people are they're gonna have a lot of stuff they're still working through, stuff that are being cleansed out and gotten rid of, just junk that we don't need anymore. So it might be certain situations with people, or maybe stuff inside themselves. Maybe I'm not happy with myself and I need to start working on the happiness. But I think once the end of February comes in, between the end of February and the end of the year, I think it's just going to be abundance. I think people are just going to fly. The ones that have been doing the work on themselves, which is probably the group that I'm in. But I think between now and the end of February, it's going to be it's kind of like spring cleaning. We're just clearing out some of the crap that needs to go. Maybe not heavy stuff, maybe light enough stuff. But I think January, February, March, from
It
March.
seems to be a lot of collective stuff clearing as well. It's not only to each action figure. It seems to be human programming that's actually clearing. You can see that. So it's shit that's held by, I mean, just bloody obvious to the mainstream media, and they're not seeing it. You see, you just throw stones. It's not saying it's those two people out there. No, just as I was saying, this is a tricky one. I don't want to, talk about it too much because it'll, it's not PC friendly. But there's two people that were everyone's, running in the rabbit hole. People when you wake up, because they're not seeing the reflection. There's two people that had an island and a flight, list, and everyone's freaking out about this. Exactly. You see, this is the conscious mind. It's not looking at its own shadow. It's like, oh my gosh, you just want to know who's on the list. You know what I mean? That's it. This is a program, because it's drama and soapies and whatever the crap that's being programmed in here, and beliefs and things. So they're looking at that and not understanding what it means. And look what they did. You see, but look at society when it surfaces on a big scale, and it's reflected back to all the characters in the movie, right? So anything that hits global scale news and whatever on a big scandal is trying to bring up to the surface problems with the collective. So most people are like, oh my gosh, all they want to do is see who's wrong and throw stones at them and lock them up. And there we are, and not that, and he did, we didn't. That's what I'm saying. They're stuck in the program. But instead of sitting back and reflecting, because it's only a reflection of consciousness, it's projected. Everything is a projection. There wouldn't be anything here. You would see nothing. You would be source. You would be nothingness again if there was nothing projected out there, right? If you stopped desiring, thinking, that's it. You would be in that one wave ocean. But because this little parrot is so busy, they can't see through this. They're building up so much momentum, they can't see through the clouds anyway. So those people represent exactly what's wrong, not what they are doing, but what's wrong with society. Because look at how women are objectified. Every model, if you want to sell a fancy car, guess what? You've got a half-naked woman with a bikini on the bonnet. You know what I mean? You've got women running around, exactly, always used as a sex object to sell clothes, to sell cars. I mean, they are. Women get drugged in bars, but mistreated, objectified. We've got prostitution galore. I mean, pimps and racketeers, who knows? It's not that people don't know about this. So when it surfaces up, it's a reflection of what's wrong with society. But everybody sits there and, you see, not understanding. So I'm saying, if you said a lesson and want to throw stones, and don't say, wow, yeah, no. Way too close to home. It's such a huge thing in the society, and it's held, and it's been, you've got men beating their wives. I mean, it is such a, really big problem. And if we recognize the reflection, we can actually then say, oh, okay. You see, it's easy to throw a stone when you realize, hang on, let me look close at home. How many people, have date rapes, this, that. I mean, this is why it's bored up to the collective consciousness. It is so prevalent. It's such a predatory, they've been objectified, they've been abused, look at these. You get a job, come and be nice to me and I'll give you a job. You know what I mean? It's not like we don't know these things. So this is why. And what are these people doing? It's just been emphasized, you see. But a conscious one would throw a stone and not look, is what I'm saying, unawakened. Oh, let's be talking. And there we are. Instead of looking about, yes, society, yeah, no,
It's interesting. It's like you're
it's
saying, whenever there's a big media thing, what I always find, what I try to do, I don't always do it. Sometimes I get caught up and stuff. But when they're throwing stuff in your face and they want you to latch onto this, what I try to do is, like you said earlier, just step back, because maybe that one story is being overcovered by a different story that they don't want. So it's
not
again,
someone sees.
just
It's for us. We got to understand there's a message in there for us. There's a message, you see. It's not that they're doing. It's what is wrong with this dysfunctional among everybody. This is our society, like people are moaning about. And as I say, the distortion, the consciousness got so distorted, or the ego. This is why it got to its worst. Remember, it got the most objectified. We got everyone's lips and selfies and plastic. And I mean, it really went too materialistic. It went crazy. It went completely to the most, like you said, mental health epidemics. This, that. I mean, it got so bad that it couldn't cope anymore. It got so distorted, and this is what we're now. So these big distortions, not because it's got nothing to do with someone else doesn't want to see. It's because we must look at it, but instead of looking at it from a judgment point of view, it's just trying to give us a message, like personal things. Remember, you don't see the lesson. It's the same thing. It's a collective lesson. This is what they don't understand. And most people just get upset and want to, they're not understanding the collective lesson that it's showing us. This is dysfunctional in our society. It isn't about he's wrong, oh, they did that. It's what's happening a lot among, that is what the main one, sources anyone here, is trying to show everybody. But they're completely not getting it. Nobody's getting it. They just want a witch hunt, you see. Who's wrong? Let's lock him up. And not like, let's have a look, where is this going on in our society, in our neighborhood, in our city? Massively. Let's do we like it? No, because we want to lock them up, but we're not looking at the reflection. This is the big problem.
I don't know about you, but I find when I listen to some of the like the WEF stuff, when I listen to that, even though I know they have all these sinister plans, I don't get worried about it anymore, because in my head I'm so sure that, and I'm seeing so many signs that people are waking up and people are working on themselves, that I just don't think it's two paths. That's the heavier path, this the lighter path. I just don't see us going down that path.
No.
So much so that I don't worry about it. I'll pay attention to it and I'll hear stuff if it comes in my field that I'm supposed to hear, but I just don't absorb the fear anymore, because
No.
I'm seeing so many people working on themselves around me that I'm like, nah, we don't need to worry about it. Pay attention, but
It's
don't.
because you're not resonating with it, because you've cleared it. You see, that's what I'm saying. It will not resonate with you if you've released everything. What you release releases you. What you claim claims you, whatever. So you've released it, so you won't resonate at all with it. But the poor people waking up are, and the ones that are not, let's say, people think they're awake when they're truth seeking. This is what I'm saying. Oh, I'm a truth seeker. Whoa, I'm looking down. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for the dark. This is what I'm saying. You're hunting for your shadow, but you're hunting out there. You're not seeing that's a bloody reflection. You're chasing the mirror. It's like a wall of mirrors, and you're never going to find your way out.
And that was the best thing about lockdown, because it forced people to have to sit at home and sit with themselves. Because you can't, and sometimes I think money can be having a lot of money can be a catch, because it's easier to distract yourself. I can go for fancy meals, I can go on holidays. When you have the means, it's easier to distract yourself, and it's harder then to actually just sit and be. Here's another thing I've noticed, and this happened to me recently, if you don't mind me saying.
But it's desire. If the desire in the heart's there, and if you really mean, you keep going at it, or try, ask like for help. You sit there and you wait for source. You're patient, like they say, ask, and wait, and just wait. It will come. But you're not seeking it. Of course, it's not going to come, because you're too happy playing. Playing action figure.
But I had it happen a while ago where I had no desire. Now, I didn't feel in a bad way. Mentally, I was in it, like, life is good. But I was in a stage where just desires, like I didn't have a desire to watch any films, didn't want to read anything, didn't want to play games. You know that, where like there's nothing, like it's kind of like, God, I don't have anything to pick me up right now. But again, my mood was in a good place, but I was like, okay, this is obviously happening because they want me to sit with myself, because there's something else that's going to come up. But but the lucky thing for me is I was aware they're taking away my desires so that I'll just sit with myself. But I can imagine if you didn't have a clue, I'd imagine you'd think, oh, what's wrong with me? I don't want to do anything. I have no fun. I can see how you would think that you're in crisis or something.
Well, if you haven't released that energy and you're depressed, yeah, you're not happy, you're going to be, exactly, because you're not, you see, you've been taught to treat it and suppress it. Take a medicine. This is what our whole thing has been around. Take a pill, go for a sleep, have this, have an antidepressant, whatever. That's it. Not just to get rid of it. You see, to treat it, suppress it, this is symptoms. This is what we've done, is patch the symptoms. That's all we've done. This is what society's done completely. So now it's getting to the point, there's no getting out of this one now, because Source is pushing it out. You have no say. So it's going to be pushed out, you like it or not. So you have a choice.
I always say it's
Really
so it's
true.
the idea of getting in cold water. When you get into cold water, when you make that choice to get into cold water, you're choosing to go into the fear because you know it's going to be cold. You know you're going to freeze, and I think it's the same when you're healing yourself. When you make that choice to go into the stuff you're scared to face because you're facing it on your terms, it's not as bad as if you just do nothing and let it come after you. Because if you
Mm.
go, what I mean by that is when you end up having to work on yourself, it tends to be when everything falls apart in your life. But if you make a conscious effort to say, right, this year I'm going to really sit with myself, I'm going to do these things that I know are going to help me work on the inside. I think it's you end up the outcome ends
Oh,
up being
you don't build up, yeah, till it's, yeah. You don't let it build up and build up and build up.
yes.
But also remember, you see, this is what I'm saying. Society got to such a depraved level we have. I mean, such a lack of love and compassion. I mean, it's distorted, completely distorted. This is what's all being shown to us. We're just not seeing all the reflections. We say, oh my gosh, the next scandal. You see, everybody's focusing on the scandal and not seeing the reflection. So there we are working ourselves, but they're not getting. We need to fix this. We need to change this. This is not good. We don't want this kind of. We don't want governments and behavior and societies like this. This is really what it's trying to show us. Anyway, let's hope it gets there. But are you noticing it? I mean, I don't know about your work. Have you noticed it's increased? Because I don't know how much it's increased now, but they're expecting by 2031 in every two. But I mean, the third wave's waking up. I haven't a clue what the numbers are we're looking at.
I think it is going to increase naturally, but that's because people are going to wake up to it. They're going to realize, do you know what? Having the fancy house and having the fancy car and going on the fancy holidays, it's not actually filling me on the inside anymore. And I think that's actually what's going to spark it. It's people are going to have what you're supposed to have in life, but they're not going to be happy. And then from that, they're going to be forced into this space where they have to work on themselves. I think the lucky ones are the people that are going to choose to work on themselves before life gets really hard. But you know yourself, there's going to be people that I give you an example, right? Look, it's just an idea.
Yeah, but you can't, because you can't fix. It's a program. You're fixing Siri.
Yeah.
Siri's a program. That's it.
But I have this idea in my head. It's this, and the idea is that angels and demons, they don't fight each other. They work together. Obviously, I'm sure they fight on some level. But the idea is, let's just say Source decides. Source wants you to go from job A to job B, because Source has decided job A is not in line with your highest good. So we want to get you on path B. So Source sends the angels in. Angels come in, and the angels get you to see advertisements for the job B. They'll have friends around you talking about job B. You might see that job B is doing training and you're really interested, but they'll
Synchronicities, you mean? Yeah.
the angels use synchronicities to try push you in the direction of job B. But for whatever reason, you're ignoring them because you're like, no, I can't see them, tunnel vision. So then the angels go to the demons and the angels say to the demons, look, Source wants this person at B. He's not listening. Go in and fuck everything up. So then what happens is, all of a sudden in job A, your boss starts to hate you. Your car breaks down, so now you can't get to job A until eventually you end up at a point that you lose your job and then you have to go for job B. So my way of looking at it is listen to the bloody angels, listen to the synchronicities, because you're going to get dragged to the end point anyway, but it's much better to go
Yeah, the flow. Yeah.
go with the flow, because otherwise you'll be dragged there and it's much
Yeah, but
better.
your program, you're not taught this, is what I'm saying. So you know that once you're awake, but a person that's unawake, you're not taught this. You are only running on the conscious mind of what you've been told by your parents, you've been taught by school, your granny, your sister, your mother, your family, your cousin, your news, whatever crap you've taken in. This is all you know. That's the filter you've got. You see. So you were never taught this. Nobody was ever taught this. We were always taught, suck it up, smile, don't be this and that. And, come on, you got to overcome this resilience. And there's nothing about feeling the whole thing, and also understanding that with the flow. You were taught not to follow. You must be sensible. You see, this is the program. You don't follow your heart. You don't follow your intuition. You know what is the best thing. You see, that's what I'm saying. You're using Siri to sort the problem out, the parrot. And depending, this is what I was trying to say. This program that surfaced here, it was so funny in this country. There's a big scandal here about the post office. Really, and people are not seeing what it's trying to reflect to them. Very much true. There's a big shit here with the post office, right? Guess what? It's a computer system, and it's only as good as the program it is running. And the program was defaulty, and what happened? It was detrimental to the people. And go, guess what? Guess what you're running here? A program. Every belief and definition and anything you've ever taken on, fear, beliefs, nonsense story, horror movie, is there. That's it. That image is there. All those stories are sitting here. And you've forgotten in your, if you want to say, subconscious. Bingo. So, wow.
And that's why I think the healing work works so well, because you're hitting it unconsciously, and you're able to unravel them programs in ways that you know. But what I've noticed, a few of the people that I know that do counseling, like the counselors I know, they do energy work without even realize it. Like they'll have you sit there and they'll have you visualize and stuff. And it's like, ooh, interesting. Do you know what I mean? Because counseling is very mainstream, do you know? And they're even starting to get people to do stuff like visualization and things like that to help them.
Well, Joe Dispenza's done a big break. It wasn't actually. I think that's why his purpose was there, right? Because you've got all the conscious people. They're using the Siri here, and they're not going to no. Where's the proof? It's got to be factual, as you see, because they're listening to the program. They don't realize the program is only nothing new is coming out. The only thing the program can do is pull from its subconscious, from what emits memory. That's it. It's exactly like a computer. Whatever has gone into this shit is exactly what's going to be spat out. Simple as that. They're going to prove, and actually they are proving it. I think even science nowadays prove you don't think your thoughts, because they're being able to test it, and you don't. The body does nothing. It's just a body. So it literally doesn't. I mean, they can prove now that by the time it reacts, it's after effect. They're not. People they'll get there. That's not their thoughts, but I mean, it's fascinating though. Wow, I'll tell you what. And if there wasn't for that, Joe Dispenza, people would never. It's way too out there. You see, it's woa, because the program is like, no, not what I've been told and taught. So where's the proof? You see, that's the thing. It's suspicious. It's negative. So it wants to see the proof. So it's just logical. If you can, by changing your thoughts, you can change your entire life, right? It's got to show you that's a reflection. It's a movie. So what's created here is reflecting to you. Because if you can change life by just changing the program and the beliefs and definitions, or energy as well, then, but it actually, like even illness, because this is what I'm saying, then you can actually see how real is it. Because if I can just sit there for 40 days and say, right, I'm healthy, I'm this and that, and my cancer can disappear, it's got to tell you something. You see, life is created by that. It's not solid. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing is solid. Nothing is real.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you would ask me to do this live. And then I'd said to you, what are we going to talk about? I loved your response. Your response is like, well, I don't know, Anthony. We'll just come and we'll just talk about whatever comes up. But what's lovely about that is logical brain would have been like, no, I need a syllabus. I need to know exactly what we're going to go through. Whereas creative brain is like, this is interesting. Right. Okay. Let's just see what happens. But yeah,
Let it flow. Let it flow.
And I think that's the best thing with life. You just work with the situation you're given. You're going to work one day and everyone's going crazy. You remain calm and just see how the day plays out. But once you stay calm on the inside, you're going to manage it so much better than if you're like, oh my God, everyone else is crazy. I need it. It's like, no, you just.
Yeah. I think it's a very good thing actually, because they're going to really be able to help people now. It really worries me actually, because especially when you've been through that, you know what it was like. It was so bad. I mean, the system it was just, that's what I'm saying. Why do you think people took their lives? If it was effective and it was helping people, why do we get billions on pills? How come, so we do, when something wasn't working out too well, though, you see, we were just addressing Siri, and Siri's not in charge. You see. They were.
And that's interesting you said, because that's the biggest thing. It's the core concepts that we have in our head. They're the hardest ones to change. So, like in my family growing up, it was you had to work hard. You because money's
Everybody.
money's hard to earn, and you got to work your ass off to make money. And as I got older, I realized, okay, that way, okay, it's very good to work, of course, and especially something if you're working at something you enjoy. But it's like, no, you don't actually have to kill yourself to make money. But that was a program I had to take that one piece out and put in the new disc. And
Money doesn't grow on trees. That was that era. Everybody was taught that. And then we had depressions and we have all these things, and people are wondering why we have got depressions and shortages and food things. And they're like, well, if you go around telling everybody we're going to have recessions and depressions, guess what? You'll manifest it.
But that's it. It's the core beliefs are the hardest one, and the hardest ones to switch. And but that's why when you're dealing with something that's, if you have stuff coming up, right, and it's really heavy stuff, be kind to yourself, because if it's really heavy, it means it's probably a big core belief, and if it's a big core belief, it means there's a lot to shift. So again, it's going back to being kind to yourself. Of, I'm feeling really crap about this situation. I don't know what way to go, but look, fair play to me because I'm in it. I always think if you're in a space where you're feeling really shit, I always say to myself, this is fucking good, because if I'm feeling really shit, it means I'm actually sitting with what's going on. If I'm distracting myself, then I'm not sitting with it. So I always remind myself when I'm feeling really low and down, I'm like, fair play to me, because I'm in it right now, and just by being in it, I'm healing it. But if I go and distract myself with my TV or my phone, I'm not in it now.
Yeah, but there's a difference. When you've got someone that's like really terrorized, that was really traumatized, I went through serious trauma at a very young age, it's had such a strong energetic imprint, right? So when something really I'm saying that because we know it's not the thought so much, it's what generates the energy and the emotion. So the reaction to it. Now, as the Buddhists tell you, it's a reaction. Not what happens, how we react. So when you go through something that was really, and especially when you believed you were the body and everything, in pain, something that was really, say, life-threatening or very painful or very traumatic or terrifying or whatever, childhood serious trauma, as we know. Say, we don't have to go into details, we can just imagine. Some horrendous things have happened on the planet. So you go through these things, that energy, you see, this is why we have addiction and alcoholics. You can't just sit with it. You can't deal with it normally. You cannot process it with therapy, with talking, with everything. Because as it comes up, you are now bringing up that energy again, but because we're not releasing it. So what we do is feel that energy. We don't want to, it's a disaster. So it's like a loop. And even as you should know, counselors, they won't talk about it because they don't want to trigger the person. Because all they do is to take them back to that I'm saying. It keeps going back. So you're stuck in a loop because if you're not addressing the higher mind or the subconscious, if you're going to go to hypnosis or whatever else, you can't clear it. But if you get that person into that level of consciousness, then there's that traumatic. So when you're processing it now, you are pulling back to the conscious self, the self, not the ego mind or the program. So when you're going through it now, it's not like you should know you are watching it as the observer and not the one that's being, say, abused or whatever else. You see, this is the problem. The conventional way did not work. Did not work.
With post-traumatic stress disorder, they say the best way of dealing with it is by actually reliving the event through structured sessions. Now, the way they lead it up is, it depends on the counselor, but like there's build-up sessions. So the first 2 sessions could be just preparing you psychologically. Third session, you go into it, and then fourth session, you're debriefing it. But
no, because it doesn't address why it happened. Look, to be honest with you, and okay, this one was diagnosed complex post-traumatic stress, and I mean, you name it. I mean, I actually, if it wasn't for this one, like thank goodness, and being awake in divine grace, I would have been sitting in a institute and drugged and labeled bipolar by now. That's what the last thing was, because the drugs went so wrong. They now try to say it was, now I've got something else, because the drugs, it was like, no, not now, go away. So they just wanted to now diagnose you because they were seeing the reaction of the drugs and stick me. I'm not joking. This was the last thing. I told the guy to go fly a kite and shove it up the rear end, because I'm the one who asked to see them, because I actually wanted to have a detox. I wanted to see the chemical. I asked to see this psychiatrist because they're telling us serotonin syndrome, whatever nonsense I saw. So I knew what the symptoms and problems, serious issues that were going on there. So I wanted to see what damage was done, the chemical thing, because if you're saying it's a chemical, now prove to me how much. So I wanted toxicology or toxic, some sort of thing, test to see the toxins in the brain and something else. I can't remember what it was. I was in really, really bad way because they really went very wrong. So it was the most, you don't even go to that experience. So anyone knows what we're talking about here? Yes. Even the helpline. I mean, I actually told them. After talking to whoever this was, Samaritan Helpline, I felt like jumping off the bridge. Far worse. I mean, they were useless. They actually made it worse. So it's like plenty to say on that subject. But that's exactly what they were going to do. They chase you. I mean, you don't want a system. So if anyone knows about the system and has been through it and experienced that, and the only way, as I say, by working through it, some of it I had to go to in this awakening process because it's very clever. That's what I'm saying. If you wake up and your source is guiding you, as I'm saying, the self, if you activate that energy and divine grace steps in, you are fine. Without that, you're in big shit. Big shit. I wouldn't, well, the body did die, but anyway, came back. But, re-manifested, whatever. But I did die because of what happened, yes, after that. But luckily, in the awakened part of it, wow. I went to one of my friends who was a healer and I had to move some of it because some of it came up and there wasn't even a conscious awareness of some shit that had happened when I was a child either. So all this was stuck there. And when it was coming up, it's so the energy. I know people that cannot, in their 50s, 60s, that you still cannot. They cannot, you can't even think about opening that door because it's so bad. You see, the fear of going, that energy, when that thing comes up, it's, as you know, it's in that moment. You cannot do it on a conscious level. You can't. So going in with that person, even if it was coming up and in that thing and they seeing it and you feeling it okay and you know what I mean? You got to do it very slowly and remove that energy. It's not a joke.
You have to go at the person's level. But I always find it fascinating how
Therapy
the brain creates chambers to protect itself. It's fascinating how sophisticated it is. What would you say, because we're probably going to end soon, but what would you say, what would you say is baby steps for people to start working towards, finding the right path or whatever word you might use for it?
If you're using the conscious mind, you can't. That's what I'm saying, because you're listening to the program. So if they believe, it depends what they've been taught and grown up and believe. They won't listen to you. They would literally think, they listen to what the doctor says and go and get the pill and go home or whatever, you know what I mean? Or think that's it. You see, it depends on the program, what you've been taught. Say, I've got something wrong with me, whatever, and that's it. They're running the conscious program. But, what probably was helped or getting therapy, most people ran away from you. So nobody wanted to deal with you anyway. I mean, 1 year later, I was going from one person to another. Literally, I couldn't get therapy because they would go. And then they was like, no, you need someone else. And they were just avoiding it because nobody, see, it's all legal. No one wants to deal with you because they're worried they'll trigger you and something happens and might get sued. So I got shunted from therapist to therapist. It was a joke. But I'm glad that one's long gone. But yes, I wouldn't recommend experience to anybody. But yeah, well, I don't know. Is what I'm saying. We can't because it depends what the program is. If that parrot is, that's what it is. You're not going to change that belief system. Only the one can do that. It'll either force them to face it, really. It'll just come up and it'll work it through, and they're just going to it'll just go through a hard time. It'll just come out and get over it, or who knows? Or they exit, the planet. As I say, it depends on the one, literally. Out of compassion, maybe, as I say, if they are guided, it depends on how much is here. Obviously, when it's really bad, like this one, when this one woke up, then you got, it represents, now you can see the images. So, let's not even go there.
Yeah, I find it interesting.
Understand that whole path.
In my practice, I'm lucky that everybody tends to come to me, they tend to really be committed to working on themselves. So what I find beautiful is, there's always a gap between sessions, but every time they come back, like everything is progressing. It doesn't mean, they still have heavy feelings and they're still going through stuff, but there's nothing better than when you are holding space for somebody and you're seeing they're actually doing the work on themselves in between, because it's like, oh my God, it's the dream, because it's someone that actually wants to work on themselves and better their life.
Yeah. Yeah. But you see, but that's what I'm saying. We didn't understand that this is what I'm saying, stop judging and blaming people. They're only working on a program. So, and depending on what the program is, and as I look at everyone else, their self-worth is the huge amount of programs here was low self-worth, not worthy, you know, you got to earn. This is, as I'm saying, it's a collective human program. It's horrendous. Okay, it's been cleared. So, as we all know, most of it is self-worth things. There's a huge self-worth. And you're watching people now going through it. And I'm watching shame. And you keep it to yourself. You see, you're suffering because it's personal things or this. You're watching them and they're not reaching out. They're just, you know. Then you'll start exactly, because the parrot will say, oh, it's you did something wrong, it's your fault, whatever, you know, depending on what's in there. So it's a frequencies, like I was saying to you, that is probably the most enlightening thing, finding out that they're all different frequencies, because now those thoughts, of course, when you're down there, are shit. So guess what? More and more of the same frequency of those negative thoughts are coming to you, because you're resonating with it, because you think about them, and everything on that frequency is going to come. So you're really kind of stuck in that. I don't know. We just have to wait. We just be out there and have to just, if people approach you, or if you see something, or then you can reach out and say, you know, I can help you, or speak to me or something. You can't force it on someone.
Just for everyone listening, for themselves, I would always say is meditate yourself. Go to spiritual groups, like if there's meditation classes or sound baths or things like that around you, because in what and this was a problem I found in the past. It was going back a few years ago. It's like I used to hold space for a lot of people. I'm like, no one's holding space for me. And I used to get annoyed about it. But then what I realized is what I do now is I go to retreats a couple of times a year. Because when I go to a retreat, I'm being held in space. So now what happens is in my normal life, when I'm holding space for other people, I have no problem doing it, because I know, oh, well, when I want to have space held, I'll go to that place. And it completely resolved any of the issues that I had around it. So what I'd say to people is, if you're going to hold space for somebody else, you need to make sure that you're having space held for you. Because if your energy isn't high, like you know, if you're poor, if you're a drink and you're trying to fill someone else's cup, but there's nothing in your drink, you can't fill any cups.
You can't with that if you're not in that energy flow anyway. If the energy isn't activated, you can't. That's what I'm saying. See, we got to deal with people that aren't even, that won't even, there's many of them they're not going to choose the spiritual path. So they'll choose, okay, then they go to church, hopefully, and they'll get that, you know, find out, hopefully. It doesn't matter how source helps them. It's irrelevant.
But
it's absolutely.
I love it when you see the glimpse, though, when they start talking about something and you see the glimpse of hope, because maybe they've changed their thought around something. And it's not that you're telling them that they have to think different. You're just listening to them talking. They're like, oh, I remember a year ago you wouldn't have said that, and you're saying it now. And I'm like,
I don't know we have to wait and see, because if there's a great waking up and it's going to shift, and the collective shift, I think they're just going to be woken up. I think they're just going to actually like, oh my gosh, now we know what those whoa people are talking about. Because I see some stuff. You'll actually get annoyed. They do not, even if you start bringing up the subject, they'll actually like, they don't want to hear it. Then I think they will disappear from the timeline, or because it's the frequency, as you say, is so different. They're not going to be, they won't even be in your experience, awareness, life. You won't come across them. They'll just not be around. But otherwise, the ones that I think I've chosen are definitely they're going to be shaken awake. There's no one, they're not doing it. They're going to be woken up. So if we get this big shift, like we're looking now, it will just tip the whole lot. And they're going to be an instantly, holy shit, what's going on kind of thing.
Going to be busy.
Hopefully. Yeah, they will be very busy, but that's fine.
Yeah,
then we can help them. Absolutely, you can help them. Then we can jump in there. Those that start seeing horrible things, you can explain to them as well what those things actually represent, so you're not frightened of them.
But then it's even like the kids that are coming in nowadays, they're just so psychically in tuned. And like if you actually sit down and listen to some of the stuff they'll tell you, and you're like, whoa,
It's amazing. I've listened to you picking them more and more. Have you seen them on TikTok? There's some incredible children out there.
Some
wow.
Kids on it, wow.
This is so amazing.
Yeah. I'm going to love you and leave you.
Yeah, shame. I know you're probably tired. You're working hard. Well, you can always come up here if you need anyway space.
How have we been talking for an hour and a half?
I don't know. That's what I say. You just let it flow. There's no planning anymore. This is like, oh no, don't do that. There's no planning. There's no thinking. There's no, before you sit down, this is to say the parrot would have, because that's how you were taught. If you were taught that, you'd sit there and let me take pointers, questions to ask. This is whole formal way of doing it. But now it's no. Whatever comes through, there's that faith. Let it come. You allow to flow through you and not try and interfere.
Well, thank you to everybody who stayed with us.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, I will talk to you again soon.
Yeah, definitely. And you know that if you need space, you can come here anyway. Come
Perfect.
and visit. You're always welcome.
Right.
And
Talk.
I'm glad you're out there, hey, to help.
Okay, talk to you again soon.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again.
Yeah,
Okay,
you let me know. Let me know.
I will.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I didn't get all your questions because we were busy chatting, so I wasn't reading anyone's questions. Okay, well, we'll make some more. There's going to be a lot will become more and more clear to people as time moves. Anyway. Okay. Yes. Well, there's other people I'm sure that want to. There's a lot. There's so much to talk about on that subject. So there's so much to talk about. Yeah. We have to wait and see what unfolds. But I think generally there's going to be a shift, and those that are just going to find themselves awake. I don't think it's going. There's no willingness. There's no. It's just going to happen to them. That's all. It's going to happen to their body. That's it. It's not like they're going to choose it. Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, you can. Sure, you can. Yeah, okay, no problem. You may. You can send me a message then if you want. Okay. I don't. Let me know what you want to chat about. What is it you would like to talk about? There's this subject as well. As I say, it's only scratching the surface in the collective. Really, there's so much out there that's going to become more and more. You know, the awareness is going to rise more and more. It's going to change things tremendously. If first of all, if you get a real grasp of what you think is your reality, then it's no problem. But if you're still not understanding what reality is, then it's really, wow. But if you understand whatever in the awareness itself, that's what I'm saying. And it's so many programs have gone in, years of releasing. This is what's going on. So much is in there, what they call the subconscious. You don't even remember. You won't recall it. It's going to be removed. So much is going to be emptied from that. Wow. But yeah, it's only a reflection. Beliefs, thoughts, definitions, everything. Everything. It's amazing. So that is really what's creating the so-called outside world, because it's literally just being projected by your awareness in front of you. And it's fascinating, as you say. If you pay attention, as I say, the awareness is rising and it'll rise more. You will start seeing the thoughts, how they work, and you'll start seeing, and you realize, no, maybe it's not what I think it is, reality. Because look, just obviously, as I say, just look at this movement and look how many of them are all getting the same guidance, all behaving the same thoughts. As I say, then take a look at this level, or take a look at the alcoholic group, same thing. You see? So then you kind of question reality. Well, then, it's not that unique, not that different. It's it's quite interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of awareness is coming to the surface, mainstream. We'll see what plays out. Anyway, but just nice if you've got people that have the background. Basic background, because not too much, because the more program you held, the more you're in a box, the more you not open to allowing possibilities or whatever, or a different knowledge or a different view. But yeah, and are awake, because they'll really assist so many people. Anyway, we'll see. We will see. I'm sure many people would want to have a discussion about this. There's many other people that I'm sure that would like to talk about this subject. So we'll probably have quite a few lives with others, or maybe joining. Others can join the conversation, and see, what they've come across. It's interesting. All right, I'm off to sleep, everybody. Do you have a lovely day, morning, evening, wherever you are? And as I say, if you're having trouble, or if you sort of started waking up, if you're drawn to this path, follow people on this path and listen, and you will see you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay, your ears are ringing, you're feeling energy, all these things and things are just happening. It's a part of this that's happening on the planet, the energies. You can go to my TikTok page, and then there's a message thing there. I know you can send a message request. You can send a message, as far as I know. So go to my TikTok page, and then you can send me a message if you like. Not a problem. All right. Lots of love to everybody. Have a good evening, sleep well, or morning, or day, wherever you are. And we'll chat soon. Bye.